Good morning. How the devil are you doing this fine day? Hope you're all fit and well. You'll have to forgive me because I'm in full sarcasm mode for the beginning of the show. I'd like to say a very special good morning to the so-called magazine publisher based down in Worthing, who I know is watching as we speak. There we are. We've even made a banner for them. How do I know they're watching? Because they're all over my LinkedIn profile like a rash, riding on my coattails while slating me to the tiny handful of people that listen to them. So you know we featured William Forrest of the Attachment Company on the show yesterday. Well, I dropped him a line before the show aired, and I told him to expect a contact from this so-called publisher trying to sell him advertising. Sure enough, predictable as anything, they did precisely that. Obviously, they've got no real presence in the market, so of course they'd never heard of the Attachment Company until our show aired. Now, I could be upset about this, but instead I've taken pity upon them. It must be hard for them to sit through a whole hour of me and others talking about things they don't understand just so they can draw up a list of potential advertisers about whom they know absolutely nothing. So this morning, I'm going to give them a bit of a leg up to save them sitting through all of this. So here goes. I'm going to do it in a tone that they will understand. Good morning, Worthing. Today's show features a company called JCB. They're British, and they're famous for a thing called a backhoe loader. You probably know it as a double digger. We also have a film from a company called Develon. They used to be called Doosan. Before that, they were called Daewoo. I mean, you wouldn't know that because obviously you're not of the industry. We'll also be showing a film featuring a thing called a demolition robot. But don't worry. This is not a scary movie robot. This one has no face at all, just so you know. Oh, and we also have a company from a film called Liebherr. They're not from the UK, so remember to speak slowly when you call them. Now, if you need any more information, we've set up a special website just to help you. It's called You'reFoolingNoOne.com. Go check it out. Now, without further ado, I'm going to switch off the sarcasm now. Without further ado, let me roll the intro, post the question of the day, and get this damn show on the damn road. It is Wednesday, the 15th of November. Welcome to the Breakfast Show, and a very happy birthday to one Mr. Gaz Evans of Gem Attachments. Happy birthday, mate. Hope you have a good day. I am your host, Mark Anthony. In today's show, JCB unleashes a monster, haven't we all? We're relaxing with some Brokk demolition robots. Develon joins the race to autonomy, and the Eagle has landed, thanks to Dehaco. Plus, we have some Turkish Delight, courtesy of the fine folks over at Liebherr. But first, we're going to peer back through the mists of time to see what was happening on this very day in history. On this day in 1492, Christopher Columbus noted his first encounter with tobacco. Rumour is that he's still trying to give it up. In 1777, the first constitution of the US was approved by Congress. That's probably the one without all the amendments. In 1904, a man called King Gillette patented a safety razor that still carries his name to this day. In 1956, Elvis Presley made his film debut in the movie Love Me Tender. In 1986, rather different type of music, the Beastie Boys released their debut album, Licensed to Ill. As a small aside, my then girlfriend, now wife, went to Covent Garden in London around about that time. There was a band playing on a tiny, tiny little stage, causing quite a commotion. That band, as it turns out, the Beastie Boys. In 2001, Microsoft released its first Xbox. And in 2021, US President Joe Biden signed a once-in-a-generation $1 trillion infrastructure bill into law. Here in the UK, we can't even see a little railway line through to fruition. Now, before we get into the real meat of the show, let me very quickly remind you of our question of the day. Yeah, our resident quizmaster, Gary Muirhead, has been at it again. He's actually sent me a couple of suggestions, one of which he's such a thinker, I may actually drop it into the WhatsApp group the day before we do it, because it does require, well, certainly from my point of view, it really requires a bit of thought. We'll come back to that at some point. But today's question is this. What is the best part of your job? I don't need to tell you the best part of my job because you already know. It's me sitting here talking to you and getting your feedback, something I've been starved of for 35 years. But what about you? What is the best thing about your job? Let us know in the chat, and we'll come back to that at the end of the show. But we do need to make a proper start, so here we go. I'm just going to say a very quick good morning. Mike Wright is here, and he's saying, Adam Martin, how's things? Mike, Adam, good morning. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. The latest film from those fine folks at JCB dropped yesterday, just after I'd finished putting the show together, actually. And even though he's already seen it, I promised Ken Hatcher that I would feature it on the show. To be honest, I would have featured it anyway, partly because it's JCB, but partly because it's something a little bit different. I think you'll enjoy this.
We're always looking for ways to bring something new into Monster Jam, and we're excited to be introducing a new partner that is as committed and dedicated to families and innovation as we are.
JCB is a company that is popular across the world.
We're the largest privately owned construction equipment and agricultural equipment manufacturer in the world.
When we met the Fell family, the similarities are tremendous. You know, we're all about today's machine, but tomorrow is our futures. Our eldest son, Otis, is Monster Jam crazy. When he's not watching Monster Jam, he's drawing them. Christmas last year, we were with Otis's grandpa, and they're like, let's design the perfect monster truck. And out of that, our collaboration between JCB and Monster Jam has been born.
An element that is involved virtually every day in our business is innovation. It's new ways of doing things.
Dehaco is designed after a backhoe, which was one of the first machines that JCB put out. The strength of both companies really comes to fruition with this truck.
You definitely want a winning driver to be the one that's going to drive your truck. Somebody that's very authentic so that our customers could relate.
Hey y'all, Tristan England here, Monster Jam World Finals Racing Champion. Just the side of that truck, it gives me chills. It's fresh and it's new, but it's ours.
There's definitely something that builds in you the more that you get involved with the Monster Jam family, and the excitement is getting very hard to contain.
We know that this truck is soon going to be part of so many other families' lives.
It is an exciting project to be involved with, and I think the customers will enjoy it along the way as well.
Pretty cool, right? I've got no interest whatsoever in monster trucks, but I'd love to take that for a spin. How about you? Let us know in the chat. I know Ken Hatcher likes it. Gary Muirhead has just said it's great hearing from Lord Bamford. Yes, it certainly is. And I do need to perfect that thing that the guy did. This hat is a bit too tight-fitting to pull that off, but I do need to perfect it. We'll be coming back to monster trucks and all the other stuff in just a moment, but first we'll have a spot of this.
If you are enjoying this episode, please consider supporting the show. You can leave us a tip at buymeacoffee.com/demolition news.
If you were here yesterday, and assuming you weren't too busy jotting down the name of potential advertisers, you will recall that we featured a film about Volvo's work in the field of autonomous machines and vehicles. Well, Volvo is not alone in its pursuit of an autonomous future. Develon is doing much the same thing, as you're about to see. I was lucky enough to see both of those machines at ConExpo back at the beginning of the year, and I have to say, they look right. They look complete. I know exhibitions often feature concept machines that never actually see the light of day, but that pair from Develon look pretty much sales ready. I think all we need now is the right customer and the right application. And as Jim Turner said, they choose a good soundtrack too, which will be the subject that we're going on about in just a moment. But let's do this first. I am aware that some of my music choices are a bit loud for this time of the morning. You have to remember, I generally choose the soundtrack while I'm sipping my second or even third cup of coffee. So these songs are fueled, at least in part, on caffeine. By way of a change, I've chosen something a little more chilled and relaxing to accompany a very good film from the fine folks at Brokk. Hope that helped you relax a little bit. We'll be back in just a moment with something a bit more adrenaline about it. We've already had the quote of the day from Gary Muirhead, who says, "I've just had a telephone conversation asking if I'd like some advertising or an advertising column for producing a question of the day in some magazine." Gary, look, good luck with that opportunity. And you know, if you want to speak to a YouTube audience of four whole subscribers, I can only wish you well in your future. Thank you very much indeed for that. You've been an absolute joy to be here. But obviously, if you want to go and play with the big boys, then please do so. Gary Muirhead also says, "I think an interview with Jeff from Brokk is overdue." I agree. An interview with Jeff or one of his colleagues, certainly overdue. We need to do something about that. Just to let you know, I did rush away from here yesterday. Going to be doing something with a company who are kind of in recruitment, but kind of not. Be interesting to the folks that are on Dan Cullen's groups, for example. But I'll be telling you more about that at some point in the not too distant future. And mention his name, and he appears like Satan himself. There you are, Dan Cullen. Good morning to Dan. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Now, I did promise you something a little more adrenaline fueled. We'll be doing it right after this.
Since the finance bill came into effect in April, the construction industry has seen a surge of fuel thefts. The rising cost of living has placed an additional risk of theft by employees and contractors, as well as opportunistic thieves. By using diesel dye and placing warnings of its use, you are sending a clear message that this is your fuel.
Okay, our last film was designed to help you relax, but with the end of the show now fast approaching, we need something a bit louder to help get you back to work with a spring in your step. To help us with that, we have a film from Dutch demolition tool and dust suppression system manufacturer Dehaco. So pin your ears back because the eagle has landed. So much to tell you. So just let me finish that off. Awesome tool. Dehaco makes some fantastic products. Anything that can cut steel with that degree of ease, well worth a closer look. So, couple of things. Lou Dennison says another great show. Knocked off here in Western Australia for the day. Show's even better to watch with a beer in hand. Everybody that's watching in the UK, don't take that advice. Stick with the coffee because you'll get in trouble. But good morning, Lou. Good day, even. Thank you very much indeed for joining us from Australia. Stefan Edwards, good morning from the Netherlands. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. John Finley is with us as well. I spotted somebody else that pitched up. And the other one that I do need to tell you about is this one. So before I put it on the screen, you know how construction is looking very, very sketchy at the moment, how people are looking for work, how work is drying up and all of the things. Neil Edwards. Good morning, Mr. Edwards. Good morning, Mark. Hope to see you tomorrow. The Builders Conference Building Information Construction Sales Leads Data Analysis team have added over £3 billion worth of new construction projects in the last 7 days. Has the worm turned? Neil, I'll throw that back to you. Has the worm turned? But £3 billion in 7 days. Bearing in mind, when Neil was a regular on this show, we were always looking for a baseline of £4 billion or thereabouts per month. £3 billion in 7 days. Neil asked a question as well. Hope to see you tomorrow. You most certainly will see me tomorrow. I will be at London Build in the afternoon tomorrow. And I will also be meeting up with Carly Northwood, who I know is watching over on LinkedIn. I don't think she's actually popped into the chat, but good morning, Carly. Good to see you yesterday afternoon and looking forward to catching up with you tomorrow. And looking forward to introducing you to Neil Edwards, because I think the two of you have lots to talk about. See how this show works? Unbelievable. Gary Muirhead says that'll be the money that's not being spent on HS2. Do you really think that's coming back out of the coffers? Do you? You've got more faith than I have. I've got a funny feeling that's just become a nest egg, what do they call it? A treasure chest, a war chest, even a treasure chest. Feeling all piratey this morning. I've no idea what's going on. Right, let me go over to this.
If you would like to buy a limited edition Break Fast show sticker, head on over to buymeacoffee.com/demolition news/extras.
I give up. I surrender. Every time I say I will not be featuring cranes on this show, Liebherr releases a film that makes me eat my words. So rather than fighting it, let's just go off to Turkey, shall we?
Bu şehir 3000 yıllık bir şehir. Biz bu 3000 yıl içerisinde bir milestone dikebildiysek büyük bir övünç kaynağı. Yeni Liebherr vinçleri yaklaşık 6 ay süren işlemden sonra barca Haydarpaşa'da yüklendi ve yaklaşık 17 millik bir yolculuk gerçekleştirdi. Vinç yola çıkarken Ayasofya'nın, Topkapı Sarayı'nın tarihinin önünden geçerek onlara bir selam vererek geçti. Bu hepimizi gururlandıran bir konu. Biliyorsunuz Ambar Limanı dünya limanlar sıralamasında sürekli dereceye giren bir liman. İlk özel liman olması itibariyle Mardaş Ambar Limanı'ndaki en büyük limanlardan birisi. Türkiye'nin yaklaşık 1/3'ünden fazlasının ticaret hacmini gerçekleştiriyoruz Ambar Limanı'nda. Çift bomlu vinçleri tercih etme kararı operasyonel verimliliği en üst düzeye çıkarmayı, gelecekteki büyümeye uyum sağlamayı ve daha güvenli ve daha hassas operasyonlar için ileri teknolojiyi birleştirmeyi amaçlayan stratejik bir seçimdi. Yeni Liebherr vinçleri üretkenliğin artmasına, gemi geri dönüş sürelerinin azalmasına ve operasyonel esnekliğin artmasına yol açacak.
Rüstem kıza girdik mi Rüstem?
Liebherr'in sektördeki üstün itibarı nedeniyle bu proje için ortağımız olarak seçtik. Liebherr'in kaliteye, yeniliğe olan bağımlılığı ve konteyner vinci imalatındaki kanıtlanmış geçmişi göze çarpıyordu. Teslimat ve son testler sırasında Liebherr mühendislerinin yanında kendi teknisyenlerimiz de sahada bulunuyordu. Liebherr yeni vinçlere sorunsuz bir geçiş sağlamak amacıyla personelimize kapsamlı eğitim programları sundu. Bize düzenli denetimleri, önleyici bakımı ve vinçlerin inceliklerini iyi bilen Liebherr Türkiye'nin yerel teknisyen ekibine erişimi içeren özel bir bakım programı sağladılar. Liebherr, kapsamlı destek ve müşteri hizmetleri teklifleriyle projemizin başarısına olan bağlılığını göstermeye devam ediyor.
I confess, I think I pulled the wrong version of the film. Don't remember there being that much Turkish on there. Ken Hatcher saying, where is he? There we are. What's he saying? Not a clue. What I will tell you is I have a desperate need right now for a kebab and a Turkish coffee. Anybody else? Chris Ford actually likes that version. I like this bit. Make your own captions up. My guess is my crane is bigger than yours and it moves more containers. Listen, I only have a smattering of Turkish. I think that's exactly what he was saying. Gary Muirhead says the crane technology and innovation that Liebherr has is mind-blowing. You're damn tootin' that's the case. No subtitles. Sounds like gobbledygook. Not if you're Turkish. I'm sure it sounds absolutely fine. My apologies for having pulled the wrong film, but the visuals were very nice indeed. That pretty much wraps up the main part of this morning's show. I'm going to roll the outro in just a second before leaping gazelle-like over into the chat to see what you're all saying today. If you can't stick around for that, please stay safe. Please stay safe. Look after yourself, your family, your friends, and your colleagues, whether you're in the UK, the Netherlands, Western Australia, or anywhere else. Just look after people, would you? And if you do have the time and the inclination, do me a favour, would you? Stick around, because the Craic will begin immediately after this final word from our key show sponsor. Okay, we need some music, don't we? Let's fire that up. Yeah, that's about right. Let's turn it down. I'm just going to say, no, that's the wrong one. Let me just say very, very quickly to the folks that are watching in Worthing, your work here is done for today. You can go away. There's no potential advertisers coming up anytime soon. You're done. You're fine. Go enjoy your time. Go and speak to your 4 YouTube subscribers. Now, going back to the chat, I'm going to go right the way back to the very, very beginning. There's me saying good morning to the BFS cohort. That's you, Brake Fire Show cohort. And please, in future episodes, please mind what you say, because we are being watched. Andy Darvell was first off the line this morning. Good morning, Mr. Darvell. Hope you're fitting well, my friend. How are you doing? Where are you working at the moment? I had a day out, or a half day out yesterday. Back in the office today, half day out tomorrow. I'm off to London Build at Olympia to see Mr. Edwards and Ms. Northwood as well. If anybody else is around London, around Olympia tomorrow afternoon, come on, pop along. Be lovely to see you. Now, here is Gary Muirhead. Possibly for the last time. It sounds like he may well be lured away by the bright lights of Worthing, taking his quizmaster skills with him. So let's make the most of Gary while he's still here. Morning, mate. How you doing? Mark Whiting is here, as he always is. Morning, Mark. Hope you're fitting well, my friend. Glenn Johnston as well. Hope you're fitting well. Graham Footy Williams. I hope you are doing fine and dandy. Ken Hatcher has the Black Hole Sun. Soundgarden. It's just the way my mind works. Just ignore me. I know most of you do. Let's have a look. Who else have we got? Chris Ford says, good morning, crew. I'm always in the shit. It's only the depth that varies. Welcome to my world. Yeah, absolutely. Jim Turner says, good morning. Morning, Jim. Hope you're well as well. Now, here is the question of the day, courtesy of our soon-to-be departed Gary Muirhead. What is the best thing about your job? And listen, he sent me two. He sent me 2 questions, one of which I found really, really hard to answer. And I'm going to do it tomorrow. I'll tell you what it is now. What is the nicest thing anyone has ever done for you? I'm going to run it tomorrow, but I sat here and I actually talked to my other half about it, and she's going to pop up in the chat in just a second. I talked to my other half. There are the obvious, right? So the first one that came into my head was my wife actually delivering 4 children upon my life. But husband and wife, that's kind of what they do. I then thought maybe my father-in-law for actually allowing me to marry his daughter, for which I'm deeply grateful. But that's kind of what father-in-laws do. What I was looking for was I was trying to remember something that somebody had done, just a little inconsequential, largely random act of kindness, and I couldn't think of very many. I really couldn't. The first one that came into my head when I really thought about it was that, which came from Gary Muirhead. That also came from Gary Muirhead as well. I'm going to do it tomorrow, but that will be tomorrow's question of the day. What is the nicest thing anyone has ever done for you? But today's question of the day, confusing matters, is what is the best thing about your job? Best thing about my job, you're looking at it right now, just talking to the audience and getting your feedback and your comments and your questions, and occasionally getting. We run the Demolition Insider website, and you can access it free of charge. But there's also, if you want to support it, you can for, I think it was $80 a year. I know last week we had a couple of people just say, there you go, there's your $80, keep up the good work. Completely at random, there was no selling involved, it was just people that like what we do and decided to support it. Gives you a nice warm fuzzy feeling. What's the best thing about your job? We'll come back to that, I think, in just a moment. In fact, we're going to come back to it right now. There we are. Ken Hatcher gets me up in the morning. It's not bad, and if it gets you up in the morning and you feel good about it, even better still. There is Mike Wright saying good morning to Adam Martin. How's things? Haven't seen either of them in the chat, but good morning to both of you. Jim Turner, good answer to this. What is the best thing about your job? And his answer is taking whatever is already there and creating something else through skill and knowledge. Skill and knowledge. Yeah, totally agree. Totally agree. And going back to my intense sarcasm at the beginning of the show, you can create something through skill and knowledge, or you can just copy somebody else. It's not quite the same, I grant you, but you can. Here comes my other half. What is the best thing about your job? She says, I get to work with my best friend. No, she is not sucking up to me. There was a time she used to describe me as her best friend. Now I am probably just her mortal enemy or somebody she tolerates. But her best friend is somebody that she works with. My wife works as a receptionist at a swimming school, and the swimming school is run by her best mate. Morning, Julie. I know you're not watching, but morning, Julie. Question of the day. Gary Muirhead says, question of the day, operating my beloved steel wrist tilt rotator, of course. Only joking, and I don't believe he is joking. The real answer, he says, lying through his teeth, is working and meeting all the wonderful, amazing people in this industry, including all my friends on the show. Nice. Gary Muirhead also says, great hearing from Lord Bamford. Yeah, listen, I know there's been some coverage in the press about tax issues and all that kind of thing. I don't know how it's all going to turn out. I don't know the inside track on all of that. But what is it about this country that we build people up? I mean, bearing in mind, Lord Bamford. I know everybody talks about Joe Bamford, and Joe Bamford was an absolute pioneer and an innovator, created a company that bears his name to this, or bears his initials to this day. But Sir Anthony, later Lord Bamford, has taken that company to that. I mean, he's expanded it, he's gone overseas and everything else. And here we are, rather than bigging him up, we're desperately trying to take him down. Not on this show. Not on this show. We like Lord Bamford, and I make no mistake about it. Andy Darvell is also saying good morning to Mike Wright, and good morning to Adam Martin. Where are you people seeing them? I'm not seeing them at all. But then I think my system only works if they actually comment. If they don't comment, I'm not seeing them. And Darvell says, morning mate, got a ring, I've been absolutely flat out. I know the feeling. Chris Ford liked one of the tunes. I can't remember which one that was. May well have been the JCB one, that I'm not sure. Question of the day, Chris Ford. Going home safe. Yeah, that's not a bad answer. The real answer is playing with big boys toys. That's the absolute truth. And achieving the impossible. Miracles take a little longer and cost extra. Here is Gary Muirhead, who has obviously embraced the sarcasm bug. Apparently, he's been approached to produce the question of the day in some magazine. Just for future reference, Gary, when you do this, you have to do some magazine. That's the way we refer to them. Graham Footy Williams says he wants some music from Pink Floyd. Not going to happen for two reasons, Footy. First of all, I would be stung for copyright. Second, I cannot bear Pink Floyd. I have the same feeling about Pink Floyd. I have the same feeling about Led Zeppelin. I have the same feeling about Phil Collins, and my personal pet hate anything that Diana Ross has ever been involved with. Cannot, will not. Simple as that. Jim Turner says nothing wrong with a bit of jazzy funk. Yeah, quite agree. I don't know why. There are some, when I do vintage stuff, I tend to towards the blues and bluegrass and maybe a bit of country or something like that. And when we're doing exciting demolition-y stuff, it always feels like it should be a bit dubsteppy or a bit rocky. I don't know why that is. I think maybe we need a chill out room, and maybe we'll do some jazzy funk on a daily basis. We probably won't. Glenn Johnson, see, this is why I think this was such a good question. When the powers that be in the industry go out to try and recruit the younger generation, we talk about, you could drive an excavator, because if you could drive an Xbox, you could drive an excavator, which is all fine and dandy. I mean, it's horse crap, obviously, but that's the line we take. What about the fact that you get to work with some really, really, really cool people, and the fact that you never know quite what your job is going to be the following day? Particularly demolition. I know it's a cliche, but no two demolition projects are the same. Even if there are two identical tower blocks side by side that were built at the same time by the same company using the same plans, those two tower blocks will behave in a different way. Never the same twice. Rather than doing you imagine working in a factory where you do, you're putting widgets on widgets and then slotting them into other widgets. Same thing, day in, day out, hour after hour after hour. Get yourself a job in demolition or construction, you'll be doing something different all the live long day. Surely that should be a selling point. I think an interview with Jeff from Brokk is overdue. Yes, I will have to break out the orange T-shirt for that one. But Jeff, if you're listening, I haven't spoken to Jeff for a couple of weeks, actually. I do need to drop him a line. Jeff, about time we had you or one of your colleagues on the show to talk about all things demolition robot. It's very easy to overlook. I mean, we've had autonomous machines on yesterday's show from Volvo. We've got them today from Develon. Let's not forget, and I realise they are remote control rather than autonomous, but let's not forget, Brokk led the way. Brokk led the way in taking man that bit further out of harm's way, and we're eternally grateful eternally grateful for them for doing so. There is a LinkedIn user, which may be Gary Major, may well be Neil Edwards. Not entirely sure, but there is Neil Edwards with some brilliant news. Didn't see this coming, and I have to say, as pleasant surprises go, this is a corker. As I mentioned during the show, when Neil Edwards was a regular on this show, and weather permitting, maybe he'll be a regular one day again in the not too distant future. But we used to bank on new contract awards of 4 billion and above. That if they were above 4 billion, the UK construction industry was going great guns. It was firing on all cylinders, and all was right with the world. Now, bearing in mind the battering that the house building sector has taken over the last 6 months or so, and bearing in mind also that house building for a long time contributed somewhere between a third and a half of all UK construction projects, to see that 7 days, £3 billion added to the Builders Conference BC Live League table, that is fantastic news. Should give us all a bit of a boost, I think. There's our mate Mick Norton. Morning, Mick. Hope you're fit and well, my friend. Now, what was the cat? The cat was the Dehaco machine, was it not? Yes, it was the Dehaco Eagle Shear. Damn fine piece of kit that was as well. Let's have a look. There's John Finley. Morning, John. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Dan Cullen, going back to what I was saying about all jobs being different all the time, he reckons he'd get bored after a day on that machine cutting up scrap. There is my point. If you are working in certain parts of the demolition business, obviously that was the scrapyard. You're working in certain parts of the demolition business, you're always doing something new, and even breaking it down to hours. Somebody like Andy Darvell, who often drives a high reach excavator, he may well be up high taking down the munchy on the top of the building. But then when he's built up a bit of a pile, that needs to be processed so he can still maneuver around. So he has to do something different. And then maybe he's working with a support machine, clearing the decks and manoeuvring himself. It's constantly changing. Fantastic job. Stefan Edwards says, good morning from the Netherlands. Good morning to you. I don't know. Is it a coincidence that we have Dehaco on the show and Stefan is watching? It may be. I don't know if Stefan is with Dehaco. If you are, you're very lucky to be there, because Dehaco do make some fantastic products. Particular fan of their dust suppression systems. But if you're not, Either way, good morning. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Great music though, says Dan Cullen. Thank you very much indeed. There must be some weight in that attachment. Wow. Not just weight, but imagine the twisting. I don't even know if I'll be able to demonstrate. When you grab something like that, and bearing in mind we're talking about actual steel girders, when you grab something like that, if ever you try to cut something too thick with a pair of scissors, you'll know that the scissors kind of twist themselves up, that they kind of, I'll describe it, they kind of twist themselves and go off to one side. Imagine that, rather than a big piece of cardboard or a big piece of paper, you are cutting steel. The amount of twist resistance that is built into those shears is absolutely phenomenal, because they're effectively defying physics. Physics suggests or dictates that really and truly the shears should twist. They don't. That's designed in. Hats off to Dehaco and all the other people that make products of that type. Another great show, says Lou Dennison. Thank you, Lou. No, thank you. I've got nothing else to say on that matter. Always nice to hear somebody's enjoyed the show. Knocked off here in Western Australia for the day. Show's even better to watch with a beer in hand. Maybe we should do an evening show. I know I'll be out of it because I don't do that anymore. But maybe we should do an evening show and have a drunk chat. We'll start at about 7 o'clock, but then we'll kick off the chat around about 10:30 when all of you are feeling slightly the worse for wear. See what sense you make then. Maybe we won't do that. Chris Ford says, fair size shear. That wonder what its largest cut is. Don't know, and I don't think that's actually the biggest one in the range either. Tune, says Jim Turner. They should have gone heavier when they dropped the beat. There is more. That was actually a piece out of a song. Maybe I chose the wrong bit. Ken Hatcher says worldwide show now. Not sure I'd go that far, but I mean certainly when we look at the stats on our YouTube channel and on Instagram, our biggest audience by far is America. Because of the timing and everything else, our live audience, those that actually tune in and take part, are the Brits, and that's why we do the show at 10 o'clock in the morning. But then the Americans arrive sometime around lunchtime, and then they watch it on catch up, and they are our primary audience. But yeah, it is a strange thing, isn't it? The very fact that somebody has done a day's work in Australia, in Western Australia, somewhere I've never been, I've never been, but somebody has done a day's work and has gone home, sat down, got himself a beer on, a tinny probably, and has decided, I know, I'll watch that guy from 10,000 miles away waffling on about diggers. It's a weird thing, that, right? Isn't it? And bearing in mind, you are free to interact with our friend Lou. We're talking around the world about diggers, because, as I've said so many times, diggers are a universal language. I know I caught a bit of the Bobby Charlton funeral, and Gary Lineker was in attendance. And he was saying, he's bearing in mind he played football in Spain for Barcelona and then moved over to Japan, played football in Japan. And he was basically saying, even in bits of the world where he is unable to make himself understood, I mean, he's very, very good at Catalan Spanish and he learnt Japanese as well. But even in places in the world where he is unable to make himself understood in any of the three languages that he clearly speaks, you mentioned the word Bobby Charlton, and trust me, I've done it, so I know this is true. People understand, and I think construction is exactly the same. If you put yourself in alongside a fellow construction person in, let's go Tibet, for reasons I can't honestly explain, and if you could make yourself understood with something like D11 or 3CX, I reckon you'd get the same effect. I reckon they'd go, oh, and you would start a conversation, even though you couldn't actually speak the same language, but you could speak construction and construction equipment. Worldwide show now. Yeah. We have conquered the world, people. Dan Cullen says that's fantastic news, Neil. Didn't turn on the show this morning. As you know, I turned on in full sarcasm mode. I didn't expect to get a boost like that. And that's fantastic. And Neil has actually left the building, you know, like Elvis does, or did. Ken Hatcher says, how's Wales looking, Neil? As I say, I think he's left. I will ask him tomorrow. I'm seeing him tomorrow afternoon. I will have the little camera in hand, which you can almost see there. It's on charge at the moment. The little camera will be on hand. Hopefully we'll be able to point the camera at Neil and ask him the same question. Now, £3 billion to the UK construction industry in 7 days. Good news. Gary Muirhead says that'll be the money that's not being spent on HS2. Listen, I'd love for that to be the case. But do you remember in the run-up to Brexit when Boris Johnson was talking about the fact that he would be saving £350 million a week by not being part of the EU, and he was going to invest it all into the NHS? Anyone seen any of that money? Anyone from the NHS now rolling in cash? Not really how it normally works. And I did mention earlier that back in 2021, Joe Biden signed into law $1 trillion. I don't even know how many zeros that is. $1 trillion in infrastructure spend. But I bet most of America's bridges are still falling down. That's all I'm saying. We then had our bit of a Turkish interlude, which I'm not going to dwell on. Sorry, I have to go. See you tomorrow for a better catch-up. Look forward to it, Neil. Thank you very much indeed. Chris Ford, he's making up his own subtitles. Let's have a look. Dan Cullen, gobbledygook. Yeah, absolutely. One of the best parts of my job, in the immortal words of Chaz and Dave, rabbit. I have a funny feeling I know who said that. It's only coming through as a LinkedIn user, but I've got a funny feeling I know precisely who said that. Good morning. See you tomorrow. Listen, it's why I turn up every day. Dan Cullen, question of the day. Best thing about my job is meeting fantastic people such as you, Mark, Nigel, Jim, Andy, Footy, Ken, Peter McKenna, Lou, Gary Muirhead, and everyone that has some love for machines and respect. Through my jobs, I've made some fantastic friends who I call real friends. Thank you for all your love. Well, it's a loving. Ain't that great, eh? Ain't that great? Question day. I'm really looking forward to meeting the rest of you guys that I've not yet met from the show. Me too. Drawing up plans as we speak. If I'd not joined this show, I probably wouldn't have met such fantastic people. Thanks for this fantastic show. And forever thank you, Mark, for getting us all together for an hour talking plant, and we're placed all over the UK. Thank you, Mark. Dan, you're welcome. You're very welcome. Wonder what was going on when you said be careful what you say. We're being watched. I've always thought it's better not to be watched. Better to be watched than watching. I guess it depends on the circumstances, but okay. Not seen Jeff around lately. That's Jeff Pinion of Brokk. I get the impression. I do follow him over on LinkedIn. One busy guy, I think. He's taken on quite a role there. Looking forward to catching up with Jeff. I'll drop him a line after the show. I'd like to meet Neil too at some point, if you could organise it, as I have an idea. I like he's intuitive for my groups. Now exceeded over 9,000 people, and I'm getting hounded daily by calls and texts for jobs. Dan, I'm seeing somebody tomorrow at London Build, not Build UK. I'm seeing them at London Build. And I spoke to them yesterday, and I'm going to speak to them again tomorrow. And your groups came up in conversation. Let me have the conversation tomorrow, and I'll come back to you and tell you more. But watch this space. Dan Cullen, a Friday night show would be fun. It would be messy, quite possibly. Andy Dalville, he says he's back. I didn't know he'd gone, but welcome back. Did you see the 800-ton digger Switzerland's got for a fun park or whatever it is? I didn't see that. I need to go and have a look for that. Good morning all from Northern Territories of Australia. What's with all the Aussies? Are we big down under? I hope my wife has left the building now, because she would definitely say not. Are we big down under? Two Australians pitching up on the same day. wow. Thank you, guys. Although Chris, I think Chris is a Brit. Is Chris a Brit? I think he is a Brit, and I think he's the guy that's on the big Develon machine down in Gove in Western Australia, if I'm not very much mistaken. Morning, Chris. How's it going? One thing's for sure in worldwide construction audience, CS is not universally accepted. I love the way Mick manages to have a bit of a dig, regardless of the subject matter. He can bring it back around to CS, and stick the knife in. Well done, Mick. I love that. Right, people. I've got to go and increase the security at Demolition News Towers because, as I say, we are being watched and monitored. Don't be too surprised if you get a phone call like Gary Muirhead to ask you to jump ship and hop over to a magazine with a massive 4 YouTube subscribers. I think I'd give up. Just by way of comparison, we know they've got 4. What have we got? Well, on my channel, 98,883. On Diggers and Dozers, I think we're up to about 120 odd thousand. They've got me worried that it's like they're breathing down my. They're not breathing down my neck at all. People, please go and have a fantastic day. I promise to come back with a little less sarcasm tomorrow, unless they do something else, in which case they'll get it with both barrels again. I'm going to be back here tomorrow at 10 a.m. It's only going to be an hour. I've got to limit tomorrow to an hour because as soon as the show's over, I'm jumping on a train, heading up to Olympia to meet Mr. Edwards, Ms. Northwood, and anybody else that happens to be there. As I say, I don't know what to expect. I don't know the first thing about London Build. I'm going primarily for the people rather than for the stands. But I will be taking a little camera with me. And if I do get a chance to have a look around, then expect to see my look around on Friday. Until tomorrow, people, go and have a fantastic day. Don't forget, you are being watched at all times. Big brother, well, little brother, is watching you. Until tomorrow, people, have a fantastic day. Thank you for all your contributions. And Gary, please don't go. The question of the day wouldn't be the same without you. See you all soon. All the best.